Hello and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. Safi's being extra cute today. Oh my gosh, I'm just seeing her in the camera and she's adorable. Oh, what a good girl. But I wanted to challenge myself to make a list like this today because this is something I'm actually gonna have to do in the future with my husband being in the military and moving around. There is a likelihood that we're gonna get stationed somewhere that I cannot take all these beautiful plants. So I decided to challenge myself to this now. This is a little bit more extreme than what I will have to do, as I know I'll be able to keep a few plants, like a cabinet worth, in someone's care if we do get stationed overseas. But I thought it would be a neat little prompt to try, and it was very difficult to pick out plants for this. This was really quite a challenge, especially for the Hoya. But I'm gonna let Safi go explore a little bit, do her thing, and we'll talk about the perfect mini collection. So to build the perfect mini collection of houseplants, I set myself up with one rule. I can only pick 2 plants of each genus. The size of the plant doesn't really matter too much. It's just that I can only pick 2. And so I have picked some plants on the bigger side, so maybe it's not mini in that sense, but it would be a very small and limited collection. These are just plants that I think I would take with me given my current collection, no matter what. And I think it is funny that it is something that I'm probably going to have to do at some point, though like I said, not quite this extreme. I feel like I could squeeze quite a few plants in a cabinet, but we'll just see how this goes and have fun with it. So the first genus that I'm going to do is just gonna start off with a kind of easy one, and that's gonna be Epipremnum. So most of my Epipremnum are ones that I just have throughout my house. I actually don't have too many in the plant room. So I had to go look around and kind of decide what I was gonna do. And the first one that I chose is this cutie. It lives in my guest bathroom. It's more of an enjoy pearls and jade mix type of plant. The leaves are very pointed toward a window, but that's totally fine. I have 2 plants like this, and so no matter what, I think I would take one of these. It's just a really easygoing plant. It lets you know when it's thirsty. The leaves will get thin or they'll start to wilt. And it grows really, really nicely. I really like it as a trailing plant. I feel like it's very versatile. You could put it on a shelf, you could put it on a coffee table, you could put it in a hanging basket, I could put it on top of a cabinet. There's just lots of things that you can do with a pothos. So that is why I decided to choose this one as a more easygoing one. I think choosing variegated pothos also is something that I was looking for when I was picking between my Epipremnum and this one. It's really easy on the eyes too, and that's why I picked it over some of the ones that I have, like a Manjula or a Baltic Blue or Golden Pothos. It's just really nice to look at. The second one I picked is not the prettiest. I feel like that one is really nice and full and pretty, and that sort of lent me to picking it over some others. But this one is one of my oldest pothos in my collection, and I feel like it has the most sentimental value. That's going to be my Marble Queen pothos. It really struggled with getting repotted at first, so it's a little bald on the top, but I did buy this plant in either late 2020 or early 2021. So it is just not even just my oldest pothos, it's one of the oldest plants in my entire collection. It's gone through a lot. There's some cosmetic damage on the leaves. They really hate being disturbed and repotted, but it is starting to grow again. And like I said, this is just for purely sentimental value. I love this plant so much, and if I ever lost it, I would truly be so sad. I know they're super easily replaceable. They truly are. I could get a nice big full one at Home Depot whenever I wanted, but I would always prefer to keep this one if I could. It's just so cute. I do love how it's trailing. I love how the leaves really haven't gotten smaller in size, and I do think maybe if I could, I would have it climbing, but I feel like I would want a trailing one and a climbing one, but that's not the point of this video. It's just plants that I would take with me. So this plant I would try to take with me wherever I could, even though it is the most straggly looking pothos. It does live on top of the cabinet, so that's also very easy. It's another one of those plants that you could just plug and play in different places in your space, and I feel like it would do really well in a mini collection. I think pothos are perfect for that. That's why they're so common. That's why a lot of people that aren't really into houseplants like we are collect pothos. It's just easier, and they're so easy to take care of, even though this one doesn't quite look like it. But this is a plant that I think I would take with me pretty much anywhere I could. If I could smuggle it with me to another country, I feel like I would too. Moving on, I want to talk about philodendron. And I didn't realize I don't have as many philodendron as I thought I did. So that made this pretty easy. There were two that were quite similar that I was deciding between, and then I have a lot of heartleaf philodendron. So that's kind of how I narrowed this down. It was heartleaf philodendron, gotta decide one, and then the rest of my different kinds of philodendron. So the one I picked for sort of my bigger one that wasn't heartleaf is this philodendron subhestum. And this plant also has a lot of sentimental value to me, like the Marble Queen pothos. This I got in a trade with my friend Jessica, and it was so tiny. It was a little cutting. It was this big, and now it has turned into this full-fledged plant. It has not been growing a lot recently, but that's okay. I'm not too mad. It is characterized by the beautiful red backs on the leaves, and I just feel like we've been through so much together. It was the first arabescens that I really got growing on a pole, and it's just meant so much. I don't care how big this plant gets, how difficult this plant will be to travel with. I feel like I have to have it in my collection. Maybe if it got too big, I would take a top cut and just take that with me, and maybe also try to sneak in a mid cut just to start it over from a pole perspective, make it easier to travel with, because this is not the easiest at the moment. It's barely on the second pole, but you kind of get the idea. It's not the easiest to travel with. So this is one that I feel like I have to have in my collection for the rest of my life, if I can keep it alive, and if I can't, to just get another one, because I love understated philodendron like this. It doesn't look like anything special, but it's really special to me. And I think those are the kind of plants that I want in my perfect little mini collection, or plants that I want to keep with me no matter where life kind of takes me. This next philodendron is going to look so different from the one that I just showed y'all, and that's because it is so small right now. I don't think it's going to be this small forever, but it is one of my favorite plants in my collection. It is more of a sentimental plant. That's a theme here. This is the perfect mini collection for me, but that is going to be my Velvet Halo variegated micans. Now, I would hope that this would be bigger on a pole by the time that I would have to narrow down my collection, but this is a plant that I completely overpaid for, but I don't regret it. I bought it when it was just starting to dip in price and popularity, and now nobody cares about it and it's super cheap, but I don't really care because I love it. I think when the leaves get bigger, they're so beautiful. They're some of the most beautiful leaves on any plant that I could ever imagine. And this is a plant that my husband bought me for my birthday, and I also bought myself a cutting. So all in all, I paid quite a lot for this plant. And I think my husband would be so mad at me if I ever killed it. He was kind of mad when I almost killed it, and I had to start it over into a billion little baby micans. But all of the baby ones are doing so well. While they're small, they're super easy to travel with. I think they don't size up as quickly as some of the other heartleaf philodendron, and they kind of stay compact for longer. So it could be easier to travel with than some of my other larger plants, even if it does get bigger. But it's also another one that's pretty easy. If we really needed to save space, I can take a top cut, take it with me, start it over again, and it'll do just fine. Even take multiple top cuts, because I'm planning on taking a lot of these and shoving them into one pot so I can have a really nice full moss pole of them. So this is one that I think will be with me no matter what. I will find a way to keep this in my collection. For me, having a nice contrast of a variegated plant and a non-variegated plant Also helps when building your perfect mini collection. It just brings some variety, and I think this one's perfect for it. What I would pick for this next genus kind of differs from what I would do in real life, because I think if push came to shove, I would actually not keep any of my anthurium. I just don't think they do well with the traveling. They don't do well with changing climates. They brown so easily. If somebody else was taking care of plants in my collection, I wouldn't want to put that on them, and I would rather take more Hoya and Skindapsis that I like better. Those are my favorite genus of plants. So while this would be great for like a perfect mini collection that has variety to it, in my personal life, I don't think I would take these plants. I think I would get rid of them. But I do really like them. I love anthurium, and I wish I was better at taking care of them. But like I also said, I don't want to put that burden on someone else that will be taking care of my plants for me should my husband and I get stationed overseas. But for the sake of this video, I did pick out probably my 2 favorite anthurium that I have left. I don't have a lot of anthurium left in the collection anyway, and I don't think I'm going to be pursuing too many of them in the near future. So I'm just gonna focus on keeping these alive and happy, and we'll see how they do next time that I move. So the first one is one that I picked up from Ecuagenera in California. The old leaves are a little crispy, but the new leaf is great. I've been watching this one grow for a while, and I haven't showed y'all yet. So this is the nice, beautiful, big new leaf that is bigger than me, it feels like. But this is Bessier crossed with Magnificum. That's why the leaves are so big, because it's a mag hybrid. And this one, while the leaves do get crispy, it actually takes quite a while in my experience for them to get crispy on this plant. It does really, really well. It's very easygoing, steadily puts out a few leaves a year. So this is one that I think for anthurium is on the easier side, and I would want to keep in my collection if I could, if it was just me making a mini collection, not me having someone else care for my plants for me. So if I had to pick 2 anthurium, this is definitely one of them. The other one is huge, and I don't know the best way to show it off, but this is my Magnificum Silver Blush hybrid that is always blooming and is actually growing a new leaf right now. There's so many leaves. It's so hard to show off, but this one, if I could, I would keep it. I said I'm not really taking size as a factor with these plants, but I think this is a wonderful anthurium. It encapsulates my favorite parts about anthurium, which are the silvery veins and giant pillowy leaves. So I love that about this anthurium, as well as the other mag hybrid that I picked out. I think they're great. I really don't know what to do with the blooms. I think I actually have seed berries growing on this one currently, and I really don't know what I'm doing with that. But if I just had to create the perfect mini collection, it would have to include anthurium that looks like this. This is just such a classic, quintessential look for an anthurium, and that's what I like. I know that's kind of basic, but that's what I like out of an anthurium. It was also hard for me to decide for this next genus because I don't actually have a lot of plants in this genus. I thought I had more, but I don't, and most of them are the same. I feel like at least 50% my collection for Monstera is a Monstera albo, but I told myself that I want to pick 2 different plants, so I can't pick 2 Monstera albo for my perfect mini collection. If I could, that's what I would do. I guess it's just a little rule I made up for myself because I feel like that'd be kind of boring. So for a little bit of variety, I forced myself to pick a different plant. And what I decided was that I would keep my Thai constellation. The oldest leaf is browning, I know, but it happens. It just put out this cute little new leaf. This plant has been through a lot with me, so it is a bit more of a sentimental plant, but it is growing nicely. This is the Thai 1.0, so it is more hardy than some of the newer Thais that we're seeing on the market. I think there are prettier Thais out there, so maybe I wouldn't be quite as attached to this one specifically. If it died, I would replace it. But it's been a pretty hardy plant, and I'm really hoping that I get it to be a big, beautiful, what you want out of a large form Monstera one day. But for now, it's small enough that it'd be easy to travel with. but I do think it is different enough from an albo that I would take it. I thought about my Stanleyana aurea, but I think that it's gonna be the most difficult plant to travel with in the whole world. I might just take a top cutting off of that and get rid of the rest of that plant because it is so difficult and the leaves don't really size up past a certain point. It's a very limited plant. Easy to travel with, I guess, in that sense, but I think these are better. This more classic looking Monstera. And so I picked out two that have that look, but have different types of variegation. So of course, the next one is going to be a Monstera albo. And I decided it really wasn't hard. This is my OG albo. This is the one that is going to live with me forever. I am determined to make sure this plant lives until the end of time. Honestly, I love this plant so much. I got it for cheap because it was considered a low variegation albo, but it has been anything but low variegation. This was all white, but it is browning a little bit, which is fine. It happens. But this plant has been so wonderful to grow. It is actually on the floor right now. This is how tall it is. I cannot believe it. It was just a little rooted cutting basically when I got it. So this has the most sentimental value, I think, out of just about any plant in my collection. It has grown so much for me. It has been so easygoing. It has been such a joy of a plant, and I cannot imagine being without this plant in my collection no matter what. The leaves are just incredible. It is such a fun plant to have. I used to have a regular green Monstera, but why have that when you can have this? I don't know, these are just so great. So this is a plant that will be with me no matter what. It's so easy to take care of. So if I do have someone else taking care of my plants, I won't feel too bad because this just needs watered every couple weeks and it's really not that big of a deal. It's just a great plant overall. I love getting the surprise of what each new leaf is going to look like in terms of the variegation. Now it has turned out to be more of a marbled variegation plant, which could be seen as similar to the Thai constellation. I think it's different enough, and push comes to shove and I only had to choose one, it would be this plant every single time because it is just the best and I cannot say enough about it. It is getting very difficult to move over and show off because it is getting so big, but I don't care. Size does not matter for the perfect mini collection. So they can be as big as they want to be. And if you choose a big plant, you get a bargain. So I feel like it works out. I love this plant. I cannot say how much I love this plant enough. Hopefully you guys understand. This is just one of the top plants in my whole collection, period. So this plant will always be a part of the collection. Before I get into the last two genus, which are Skindapsis and Hoya, my two favorite, I wanted to do something for the random plants that I have in my collection, that I only have one of the genus. They're a little bit of oddball plants, and I wanted to just pick two of those. So I probably have about 10 or so where I've only got one of that type of plant, and I narrowed it down to two. I like the picks that I made. I think they're super cute, and they're nice and compact and small, easy to travel with, perfect for the idea of a mini collection. The first one I picked is this Dancing Bones Jungle Cactus. I feel like I've showed it off a couple times before, but I don't show it off too much. It grows pretty slow. I do think it might actually be a Ripsalis. I'm not so sure. I don't know too much about it. I got it way back in 2021. And it's just really easy to care for. It's really unique. It's one of the only succulents I've been able to keep alive. And I'm not a big succulent girly, but I just love this plant. Maybe because I've had it so long, it has become more of a sentimental plant too. But I do think in a mini collection, having these unique plants that look different from your other plants brings some variety and just a little bit of extra life to your collection. So this one I think is just really fun. It does, I guess, bloom apparently. I've never had it bloom in the 4 years that I've had it, but apparently they're really cute little yellow blooms. So that would be fun to see one day as well. Again, a little bit more variety to the collection because a lot of the plants that I showed off in this video, like Philodendron Monstera, their blooms aren't really pretty or colorful. So this is just a little bit of fun, something nice to add, and it doesn't really take up too much space. The other oddball I picked is this Dischidia acutifolia. Yes, it does look like a Hoya, but it's not. So I feel like I get to add an extra Hoya without adding a Hoya. It's like cheating in a way, but it's legal. So I think that's okay. I think it's really cute. It doesn't grow super fast for me, but that's fine. And it looks like a Hoya. You cannot tell unless you know that it's not a Hoya. It does have really cute white blooms that are just really tiny that grow on it that I've seen on the internet. And while I haven't had this plant for too long, I think that my attachment to it has grown quite a bit. It really has surpassed some of the other oddball plants that I've had for a while, mostly because I struggle so much with aglaonema, and my sport variegated money tree is just, that is a whole weirdo in itself. Some of the other oddballs too, I think I've struggled with, and calathea just aren't the best for traveling with. So I've really whittled down my collection of calathea, unfortunately. I would, in an ideal world, have 2 calathea in this mini collection, but I don't even have 2 calathea left. I just have 1. So this one won out, and I think it'll be fine. It's a lot more easygoing than some of those other plants, and it's super cute. Finally, we've made it to my absolute hardest decisions, Hoya and Skindapsis. Now, in reality, I would just have a mini collection probably of almost entirely Hoya and Skindapsis, plus my Monstera albo. I feel like that would be the ideal mini collection, but for the sake of the video and choosing 2 of each genus, I chose for all of the others, and I only chose 2 Hoya. This was the hardest one because while I do love Skindapsis more, I don't have as many of them. I have so many Hoya. This cabinet is almost all Hoya. This cabinet is all Hoya, and I have an entire shelf of all Hoya by my window. So that was a lot to choose from, and there was only one that was a no-brainer to me. So we'll start off with that one, and that is my Fuwaensis. If you know me, you know this is my favorite Hoya. This is the Hoya that just makes me the happiest. I feel like it is everything I love the most about a Hoya. I think it would be great for a mini collection too. Most Hoya I feel like would be if you get them on a trellis, because you're keeping them compact. I feel like the trailing ones can get a little bit out of hand, they can get messy. So I think for me, helping narrow it down, picking Hoya that were on a trellis, that were really easygoing, was the way to go. This is also a Hoya that blooms several times a year. So for a mini collection, this is gonna keep things very interesting. On top of it, just having really unique leaves. I mention this all the time, but it has the best sandpaper texture. It's got splash, so it's got texture filling out this trellis really nicely, and you get the added bonus of blooms several times a year. This is a very easy bloomer for me. It has currently 3 active peduncles. None of them are blooming at the moment, but you never know, it could happen. It has already bloomed once or twice this year. It bloomed 4 or 5 times last year. So this is just a great plant. I think it's very versatile, it is very unique, and I can't imagine never having this plant in my collection. Second Hoya was so much harder to choose because there are so many that I love in my collection. And so when I was narrowing it down, like I said, for the Fuwaensis, I thought, well, if you have a mini collection and you want to keep some plants compact in that collection, maybe have like a shelf of plants, smaller, more contained plants are the way to go. For both of my oddball plants, I picked small ones. For some, I have moss pole plants, but for this, I figured a plant on a trellis was the way to go. I also narrowed it down to Lacinosa because I do think they are some of the easiest Hoya to grow. I have a lot of Hoya Lacinosa, so this would represent my love of Lacinosa and small leaf Hoya in general in just one plant. So I picked the most showstopper Lacinosa in my collection, and that is the Hoya Lacinosa Mint Coin. This plant grows like an absolute weed, and maybe that makes it a little bit harder to contain, but you can always get a bigger trellis for it if need be. And I also thought that it checked off my love of silvery Hoya. I love Hoya with silver leaves or high splash Hoya. And while the Fuwaensis does have splash, it is not the highest splash plant out there. So this is more of a pure silver plant. I feel like it checked off the boxes for all of those criteria. It's on a trellis, it's compact, it's Lacinosa, and it's got a lot of silver. It is very easygoing, it just grows so much, and I feel like this will be quite a bit of an attention grabber, even if you have a small collection. And Hoya Lacinosa are really not that hard to find. So if you plugged in a different Lacinosa instead of this one, it's super easy to find Lacinosa at big box stores or at local garden centers. I feel like everybody always has a Lacinosa of some sort these days. So it's just a really easy plant to put in a mini collection, and it looks beautiful to boot. Finally, we've made it to Skindapsis, and this was not quite as difficult as choosing Hoya, but it was still really difficult for me as these are my favorite genus. And I decided to be a little bit more selfish with this one and not just go for what would be the best variety, but two plants that I really just love and I can't imagine not having in my collection no matter what. All of my Skindapsis, except for a couple that I have in my living area, are on poles, so that wasn't really a factor into this decision. I just wanted the two most showstopper, beautiful plants to me, and I think no matter what, because I have such a variety in this little mini collection already, I think they will add to that and they'll still stand out. The first one I picked is my Skindapsis P-Sun. I do think this is my favorite of the Skindapsis, even though the variegation on the one that I personally have isn't quite the best. I still love it. It's got really nice variegation on the bottom. So it's always something that I could chop and prop and just really bring out better variegation if I wanted to, which I still might do because there's some runner action trying to happen here, which I'm not a fan of. But I do think picking variegated Skindapsis for this is the way to go. It's just something unique that if somebody was coming and just looking at my small collection of plants, they would gravitate toward this and the other one that I picked out. They're both gorgeous Skindapsis, and I feel like they have to be in my collection. They're just plants that I can't not have no matter what. Finally, of course, I picked another variegated Skindapsis, but I picked one that is very new to my collection, and that is my Skindapsis Hallie Moon. I think this is gonna be the most striking plant out of the entire mini collection. While this is small, this is the showstopper. It is gorgeous. I love these highly variegated leaves. Both of the ones I picked are also more silvery or blue, which is a running theme throughout the plants I picked for this mini collection. So while there is variety, I feel like there's also a running theme throughout that makes this collection mostly cohesive, and I really like that. I feel like I've built a collection of plants that goes really well together, and I'm very happy about that. I think this gives me a little bit more confidence if I have to do this in the future when we move and narrow down my collection of plants, that I can do it. I can do it. And while I'm not looking forward to that day, I think I'll still have a pretty sweet collection of plants, even if it is smaller than what I have now. So that's it for today's video. Obviously, I would never choose between my cats. They're all coming no matter what. But this was a nice challenge to narrow down my collection to the plants that I feel like would do best in a mini collection, add variety, some unique plants, but also plants that meant the most to me that I just can't live without. So I feel like that adds to the variety as well. And I think I picked a good little bunch. I think I did a good job. I'm happy with what I picked. If I could only have those few plants, I feel like it's less than 20, I would still be happy. I would still feel like I have really cool houseplants, and I would still love my collection just as much, and that is the whole point. But if you like this video, make sure to give Saffron and I here a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.